Hello! Welcome to Culture Illiterate. Witness 4 longtime friends grapple with the consequences of watching through every theatrically released Marvel and DC movie in order. I am one of your hosts, Jake. I know what your kink is, and you disgust me. With me are my co-hosts.
I'm Jason, and I just had some ice cream.
What a nice fun fact.
Say anything, Matt? It's usually when you go.
Oh yeah, it's my turn. My name's Matt, and fun fact about me, I am not a fan of bestiality.
Not a fan? Does that mean you're kind of okay with it?
Fan.
Just don't put that shit near me. I won't hit you.
He's a stan.
All right, and I am Sean. I have a question for our audience that they'll never be able to answer. I want to know what... So we have furries, we have scalies. What do you call people who want to, like, be a bird?
Are scalies a real thing?
Yes, they are a real thing.
You've never heard of
that term.
scalies?
I thought
No,
I thought
I have
any
not.
animal fucking all fell under beast.
You guys
under
don't read or
furries.
write, huh?
Y'all need to get up on
No,
your...
you guys are out of touch.
I don't want to be
I just
in
want
touch.
to know if it's...
If knowing what a scaly is requires me to do so.
You're
Jason.
so hateful. They're not hurting
I need to
anybody.
know if there's something different for birds. Is it featheries?
Probably.
They hurt my eyes.
Then just don't watch
The
it.
thing is, I wish I could say we were going to move on from this path of conversation, but unfortunately, because we're talking about Howard the Duck today, and anybody who may know about that film may know why this will come up again, unfortunately, I think we're, if anything, going to be circling back to this at least one more time.
Before we get into it, though, I gotta have a rec.
have a rec?
You know,
Okay.
I have a rec.
Oh,
Well, I was
he
going to say, this is
does.
the first time we've seen each other, but it's the first time we've recorded together in almost a month, so
That is
we should
true.
hopefully have stuff to talk about.
So, Minions: The Rise of Gru.
Fuck you.
I just saw this. I don't know. It's this little indie film. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Okay, this sounds better.
It's truly, when I say masterful cinema, now, and you get that kind of picture in your head, now even better than that.
The thing is,
what
this is going to be
movie
such
was.
a dead meme by the time this episode actually comes out.
I don't give half a shit. I'm not doing this for clout. I'm telling you my opinion.
Minions won't be in theaters when this comes
Honestly, maybe
out.
it still will be the way it's making money.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, but...
Okay, but jokes aside, though, about Minions, the Minions movie pissed me off because... Let me tell you why.
He took a 180.
Jake knows why. Because there, on the soundtrack, there was a song by the rapper Yeet, and it's a good song.
It's not a good song.
It is unironically a good song. Yeet
It is not.
is that guy. But it's on the soundtrack. There's a special trailer made by Cole Bennett for that song with the Minions movie, and it's not in the actual movie. The whole movie, I was waiting for it. Like, I was about to turn up, and they just didn't play Yeet, and I was pissed. Mind you, Yeet turned down being on the XXL freshman list and playing Rolling Loud, but the Minions
So
movie
he
got
makes
it.
bad decisions.
No, he made a lot of money.
Fair enough, he also would have made money from the other thing.
He made more money off of Minions.
But you could have had a cumulative sum and not have been connected to the Minions. Yes, Matt?
I also watched something. I watched Lightyear.
Good movie, solid movie.
Yeah, it was solid. The villain was a little disappointing, but you know that goes for most Pixar films these days. So yeah.
I like how we're doing rec. Like, Jason comes in with like a sort of rec, and then Matt's just like, I watched Lightyear. It was kind of
It was
disappointing.
kind of disappointing.
Well, the thing, I didn't go in with many expectations. It was solid, except for the villain, and it met my expectations, as in it wasn't that great. But everything else was good.
Did you like the cat, though? Because I know you're a cat guy.
I did like Socks, though he spoke too much to be an ideal companion of mine. But he was cute.
So are you, Matt.
I'm a little bit hurt as a companion of yours that speaks a lot.
Matt, you're pretty cute.
I don't think we're thinking of like the same types of companions.
What do you do with your cats?
What do you...
I pet it, I feed it, and I pick up its poop.
You do 2 of those 3 things with me. I'll let the audience fill in which 2.
He pets him and picks up his poop.
That was a lackluster set of recommendations, I gotta say.
Don't sit here.
There's not-
You invited us to be on this podcast. Don't sit here and shit on us now.
Well, the thing is that there's nothing else to really recommend.
we could-
like, the only other
You could
thing
recommend
I've
a
seen,
show, Matt.
Well,
It could be anything. It could
well,
be a
I've been-
game.
The Boys season
I've
3.
been, I was
I was gonna say The Boys season 3, fucking fantastic.
Well, I was instead of watching that, I was rewatching Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay.
Because I haven't watched that in a
A-Cab?
while, and their 8th season came out, and I don't remember a lot of like the previous 7, so I'm going through that right now. I'm currently on season 5.
It's enjoyable if you can get past the propaganda.
Very much so. But it's a very good show from the creators of The Office and Parks and Rec. So you know, it's going to be at least decent at the least.
If you're going to talk about shows in that vein, Superstore. I watched it a little while ago. I watched it when quarantine hit, but Superstore's great if you've ever worked in retail and customer service in a public-facing job. Superstore.
I second that. I made a bomb-ass omelet for myself the other day.
Oh yeah, I thought you were gonna talk about the Oreos or the pickles you made, but the omelet just for yourself.
Yeah, I made a good omelet. I have pictures of it. We can post it on the socials when this episode goes out.
You have the logins. If you want to care to do that, you can do that.
Jason, have you ever tried cutting a hole in bread and then putting the egg in the middle of it?
No, I've seen that on the internet.
I did that tonight. It was so good.
Do you like fried eggs?
Love fried eggs.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I've only ever seen you eat scrambled or omelets.
So easy to do, and it was so good because I get toast and egg made at the same time, and then I just eat it at the same time.
Well, I made my omelet. I made an egg white omelet because I'm trying to eat egg whites because I have a terrible diet, and like the yolk is like so much cholesterol. But anyway,
I think we've beat around the bush long enough, and it's time to talk about Howard the Duck. Released August 1st, 1986. Written by Willard Huck. Huyck.
Yuck.
So pronounce that how you will.
Yuck.
And Gloria Katz. Directed by Willard Huck. And shot by Richard H. Klein. It stars Leah Thompson as Beverly Switzler, Jeffrey Jones as Dr. Walter Jennings, Tim Robbins as Phil Blumbert, and as Howard the Duck you have suit performers Ed Gale and Jordan Prentice. Puppeteering Howard are Tim Rose, Steve Sleep, Peter Baird, Mary Wells, and Lisa Sturz, and voicing Howard is Chip Zen. So, going prior to this movie, what was y'all's experience with, have you seen the movie before? Do you have any experience with Howard the Duck as a character?
Which one of us is starting? I'll start. So, I mean, like, I know of Howard as a character. I never read a comic about him at all. Maybe actually I have, but, like, nothing that, like, I could genuinely remember. And so, like, I have, like, the fleeting idea of the character and everything that has to do with it. And, like, I've also, I've obviously... The movie is infamous, so, like, I've heard all the things from duck titties to people having sex with ducks to, like, just the movie being bad. Also seeing, like, Howard's suit and it looking like... Seeing it... This is me giving opinions on the movie, but, like, seeing it in motion was actually pretty cool, but looking at still images of that thing looks creepy.
That's because its eyes are so dead that, you know, all you can focus on is the eyes. When it's actually moving, it's very expressive and it moves. The actors moves pretty freely, so there's nothing like too unsettling about it. It's just the eyes. It's really
You're unsettling, Matt.
You're
also cute.
Thank.
But so yeah, that's about as much as like I'd never seen this movie, which was kind of weird because I know it's always been a movie that I've heard about and has been talked about and has been something that has been the butt of jokes for a very long amount of time. I just never took the time to sit down and see it because it was never that high on the list of things to see, despite its
it wasn't the top of your priority
top
list?
of my priority list. You know what the top of my priority list last weekend was? It was Top Gun Maverick.
It was good, and that's a real recommendation right there.
But yeah, so like it's a fucking weird ass movie anyways. So
personally, I remember as a young kid, like I knew that Howard the Duck existed as a character, and then I remember flipping through the TV once and saw like probably 5 seconds of Howard the Duck that was like airing on TV, and I was like, oh, they made it a movie? That's funny, because he's a duck, and that's funny. But that's where it ends in terms of my personal... You good, Matt? Simmer down.
Yeah, Matt just does things and doesn't realize it picks up on audio.
Oh, sorry.
Or just doesn't care.
You gotta shut that fridge door harder.
I'm not. Listen, Matt. We've been lo-fi the whole time we're doing this. I'm not really sweating.
It makes it a more personal experience for the listener.
We need somebody to narrate what's going on, so at least some of the things make sense. Where it's like we all stop and look at Matt, and he's just raising his hand while we talk.
Is your proposal that one of us does that, or that
we have to get a fifth person who's dedicated to narrating
in
everybody else's actions?
No, just go on like Fiverr or something and get a narrator and to like talk over post recording.
We could just instead just like invest in like a mid-tier camera, just put it there and record all of us sitting on the couch or something.
Yeah, we gotta
Why not?
And you know what? That's only for
That's
the
only
Patreon
for the
members.
Patreon members.
Listen, go to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/.
We make a lot of starting a Patreon jokes for a podcast with I think
No,
zero
no, no,
listeners.
no, no. We got four listeners.
Four
We all
listeners because we all
listen to it.
vanity listen. This is the first episode we've recorded since our intro episode went up, and we all vanity listened the day of.
Oh, I was at work and I listened.
It was the first thing I did in the morning.
I was at work and I listened to it while I was washing dishes. But listen, Jake, I'm just trying to get us that bread when I talk about Patreon. That's like
Even though we don't have one.
to bring up our sponsors, like that delicious blizzard I had from Dairy.
You're gonna get a suit, not a sponsor.
No, you just have to gaslight them into thinking
You
they
just
sponsor
have to
you.
gaslight them.
Gaslighting brands.
That's not a
Back
good
to
idea.
Howard the Duck. I also forgot that the one thing I did know prior to the movie, seeing the movie, was also the song.
The thing about Howard the Duck is he's a 27-year-old who lives on Duck World, a planet similar to Earth but inhabited by anthropomorphic ducks. I said that word wrong. And orbited by twin moons and shaped like an egg. As he's reading Play Duck in his living room, his armchair suddenly propels him out of his apartment building and into outer space. Howard eventually lands on Earth in Cleveland, Ohio, of all places. Upon arriving, Howard encounters a woman being attacked by thugs, whom he defeats using a style of martial arts called Quack Fu. The woman introduces herself as Beverly Switzler and decides to take Howard to her apartment to let him spend the night. The following day takes Howard to Phil Blumbert, a scientist who Beverly hopes can help Howard return to his world. After Phil is revealed to only be a janitor, Howard resigns himself to life on Earth and rejects Beverly's aid. He soon applies for a job as a janitor at a local romance spa. Romance spa is a way to say it. A brothel. But eventually quits and returns to Beverly, who plays in a band called Cherry Bomb. At the club where Cherry Bomb is performing, Howard comes across the manager and confronts him when he insults the band. A fight breaks out in which Howard wins. So, starting out, I think the first thing we have to address is the Play Duck.
This movie is horny off the bat.
It's really interesting because, yeah, if you heard that and were like, Play Duck, yeah, it's exactly what you think. And if you think maybe it's like an illusion in like the background, no, you see there's multiple shots of full frontal duck titty. They have nipples. It's really weird.
Don't think about it too much.
I don't want to think about who had to design the suits for that.
The thing is, like, ducks wouldn't have nipples because they don't milk.
And you later see Howard shirtless and he also doesn't have nipples.
I have a question. Do you think that I would assume that they probably had multiple suits to use, but like, do you think that those were also just Howard suits that they retrofitted with titties?
I think, no, because you would have had to do that at that point. You're doing it at the end because you're going to have to retrofit. Like, it was a pretty permanent decision. I think from the jump you have, because you see long in Duck World, you see plenty of other suits. You see a duck with black feathers. You see a duck with the flat top hair, which really makes no sense.
That just makes me feel a little like, I'm curious as to like, those suits probably costed a fair amount of money, especially Howard's itself, given all the puppetry and everything that they have to do with it and all the so like, I'm just curious if they made more, like a lot more. Was there like a point in time where they were gonna have a larger amount of time in like the duck world, essentially?
Yeah, it does seem like a lot of effort for what amounts to like 5 minutes.
I would have to assume that they probably did like retrofit certain ones, but I wouldn't think that the Howard suit.
Some of them aren't necessarily suits, too. Like, the ones that are in the still photos around Howard's apartments, you can probably just make a figure. Or, like, some of them, some of the ones that are just sitting there, you can maybe just have an animatronic versus having to put a person in a suit.
Right. Well, and I think that for a lot of those, like, just, like, the still photos or, like, the, just people on a TV screen or in the background, there's probably a fair bit of them just, like, they needed this many suits, and then they just from there mix and match different outfits on the birds.
Oh yeah, there's definitely ones that are reused for the ones that are more just standard, but there's ones that are like specialized, whether it be the boobs or the dark feathers or the hair piece or whatever, where you probably do have to have a unique one. But I think a lot of, especially the ones in the photos, again, seem to be just kind of a standard duck. I am a little proud. I'm ruining it now, but I'm a little proud of us for turning the topic of Play Duck into just a general conversation as to how the costuming and sets sets were done.
I know Jason mentioned this during the movie, but that's essentially in their world the way of saying like play human, which sounds fucking weird. So like, but what would you call like a male child duck?
Well, that's funny, but play duck makes more sense than the other ones. That like everything in Duck World seems to be duck puns, and some of it is just like
Club Mallard. That would just be like Club Human.
Club Human. Play duck at least is off of play boy, so at least it's like some type.
Would
of
you say play fowl? What do you call like a child duck?
The movie's riddled with really bad duck puns.
Oh yeah, I guess a duck.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know
duck.
why I
Chick's
said
more like a
fowl,
chick,
because
like
that's just
chicken.
every bird.
Yeah, I know, but maybe it's just like slang.
A chick is only a chicken.
Do they have other birds on Duck World?
No, they said it was just ducks.
Yeah, they.
Well, I know, but we don't see. But you have to assume he seems to know about apes and primates and whatnot. So that implies that those
I would
exist.
assume that like they probably exist, but they're unevolved into.
Well, I know, but that's what I've been meaning. But like, we have other primates on Earth. Are there other birds on Duck World that are just unevolved?
Well, yeah, because like how we have primates here that
That's
aren't.
what I just said.
Well, yeah.
Just words out of my mouth into yours.
Well, yeah, but I thought that was disrespect. Because I feel like. No, I felt like I had to reiterate it because it was such a dumb question. Like.
Well, I know, but the reason I say that is he's so free. I don't know, the eggs thing and like. Anyway, okay, I think we're getting a little off topic, but yeah. I think it's worth being addressed as who said it was horny off the bat? Sean.
We all agree that it was horny off the bat, but yeah.
But I said it.
That's the thing about this movie. It is, for 95% of it is a kid's movie, but then also you have a naked duck in a bathtub and Howard looking at porn and Howard working at a brothel, and as he walks through it you see all these people having sex, and it's like this is clearly aimed at little children, except for when it becomes like really overtly sex heavy, which is like fine, but it's just an interesting mismatch of like those two things. It's like if you went to go see Minions and then there was fucking titty.
The Minions start fucking.
You kind of have whiplash.
To be fair, there are a fair bit of minion ass shots in Minions.
Fair enough, but it's still not the same as like if they were like fuck
The
it.
closest thing you can compare is the exploitation films of like the 1980s, where all these wannabe directors shoot like a shoestring budget horror movie that they just fill with titties just to get some kids to buy the VHS
But
tape.
it's weird because it's not even like I see the comparison you're making, but at the same time it's like not even like something like that is like it's so frequent and gratuitous. It's like a couple moments where all of a sudden it's just like boom, animal, and again it being animal nudity is weird, and then there's also the brothel that he's working at, and it's like, well, why is this? It's so I wish I could be in the room when they were like coming up with this and how they decided on what was being kept in and what was being omitted, because it's really weird that this movie is so sexual compared to, and again it's like over. It's not like when we talked about Batman is like a very horny movie, Batman 1966, but it's all like, you know, innuendo and flirtatiousness and things like that, like that'll go over kids' heads and just kind of a general vibe and atmosphere. This doesn't have any of that at all. It just every once in a while has, I don't want to say graphic, because it's not like it's like fucking you're seeing people like penetration, but like
they just smother each
when you
other's
have
faces
like
and their
like
clothes.
topless moments, even if they're anthropomorphic birds and people and like a lot of side boob, it's just it's weird. It's just kind of a weird mix, because for 95% of the movie, it's not sexploitation. It's not comparable to that, and then it becomes like mildly that.
It also
like,
isn't. I also
random
wouldn't
moments.
say it's even like that, Matt. Like one of those horror movies, because it's just like the sex in this situation doesn't really feel like it's there to sell anything. I don't like.
Yeah, it does. It's weird. It's like they got bored and we're like, how much can we get?
Just
away
such
with?
a weird thing to throw in there.
Yeah, this is a definite upper tier compared to the movies I'm mentioning.
I think that you're giving them too much credit for, you know, planning out the sexuality of the movie.
Oh, I'm not giving them any credit. I'm saying they just threw that shit in on a whim.
Well, I want to be in the room when they decided to. I don't think they really decided. I think they just made
No,
it.
but that's what I mean. I think they had to at some point in this, like they had to be in a script.
Yeah.
And I think they had to be some guys who were on a lark, just like maybe.
What if we
drunk,
made
like,
death titties?
Wouldn't it be funny if Howard was jerking
No,
off?
in my mind, I don't think that they put that much thought into it. Even if it was just a drunken thought, I think it was just this.
Well, I mean, the thought had to happen at some point, because you had to, like, again, for the birds, you have to, like, make the costumes. You have to film the scene. You have to get the extras for the brothel.
To be at least a fair amount of thought, because you have to make those suits, and that takes a long ass time.
I'm aware that
How much do you know about making furry suits, Sean?
I know
Curious
that they
that you
cost
know
a
that.
lot of money.
Listen, what I'm saying, I'm aware that making a film, you have to plan all of it out, and obviously it was in the script to be, pushed through to the movie, but I don't necessarily think when they were making the script, they thought that out that much. I think it was more so just, funny.
Well, here's the thing, and I want to get a little bit more on topic, because we're coming up on a half hour, or we've spent most of this time talking about either not the movie or talking about specifically duck titties.
That's how you know we're getting good at
That's a good point. But I do think, to this point, if that synopsis seemed kind of sudden, it is because I think a lot of the pacing with the movie's off. I do want to say, in regards to the ducks themselves, I do think Howard's suit and the subsequent other duck suits, they all look really good. They're pretty impressive. The eyes are a little dead, but I guess there's only so much you can do with that, especially in the time. But pretty generally impressed with the Howard suit and the general Howard performance, that he actually feels like a living character to me. That's definitely a highlight.
It's just I had a similar opinion. Then there's nothing I can add. The suit was pretty good.
It's kind of an empty movie. I didn't take a ton of notes. I just feel like I didn't have a lot to say, to be honest.
Here's the thing though. This movie's going to be one of those scenarios where there's just nothing to talk about. But the scenes where we do have something to talk about, we can talk about for at least an hour.
It's just kind of boring for the most part. It's not even interesting, Pat. I think it's just boring.
I'm so confused by this movie just because, having obviously seen it all, I don't think it's nearly as bad as everything says it is. I think it's fairly serviceable.
So uncomfortable.
I think the pacing was okay. I think the suit looks really good to me. I think I have certain small issues with it, just tiny things. Again, the eyeballs is one of the things. I wish
and how long the head is.
I wish that there are certain parts of it that are look just not too good. They've shown off his, I'm gonna fucking talk about duck feet, but they show off his feet and they do not look good. They look like they just slapped on pieces of plastic to his feet and they're like, here you go. And I
don't think it was that bad.
I wish there were certain parts that had a little bit more detail, like that, or his bill a little bit. That this is me saying small stupid things. I honestly, again, think the suit was serviceable and did a really good job at it. But small things like that, and then again, you said, the pacing. I didn't really have a problem with the pacing that often. Anyways, the beginning was kind of weird.
Maybe the pacing. I don't know. I don't even know if pacing is the right word, but it just feels kind of put together
to
in
me,
a way
it just feels like it shifts from tonally. And just movie-wise, it feels like it's going from each scene is just or each moment, act, whatever you want to say, whatever part of it, just feels like a different thing.
Him and Beverly just seem to form a relationship very quickly, and a lot of the characters
with that, yes,
kind of it's just things like that. It's maybe not pacing, because again, I don't really know how you'd restructure it or move things around other than just basically writing a whole new script and doing a whole different thing. With the story they have, I don't know what the changes to make would be, but it's just there is a lot of, he meets Beverly, they have a big fight, and then they're great friends. It's just the way it all kind of moves is so quick, and it's not it's, he saves her, they have a nice night together, then it cuts to them, as we'll get to in the next part of the plot synopsis, they have a fight, and then they become, and then he ends up being her boyfriend, which is a whole other can of worms. And it's just it all just kind of happens, and I'm left being why did they care about it?
That's just the thing, though. It's not really the pacing. It's more how the movie is structured. The main villain doesn't even show up until 2/3 of the way into the movie.
But then it's how do you fix that? Because if you move him earlier, then what do you get rid of in the front half? Because the front half already has the issue of being too quick with the development of Howard and Beverly's relationship.
I also don't think this movie really needed a villain to begin with anyways. Yeah, I would have rather it just been a quest for him to get home, and the whole the characters and how they interact with each other being more the situation rather than...
Well, that's what it was at the beginning for 2/3 of the movie, until the accident happened, which we'll get into later, and then it just turns into this hero versus villain thing.
Speaking of, let's move the plot along a little bit. So Howard rejoins Beverly backstage after the band's performance and accompanies her back to her apartment, where Beverly persuades him to be the band's new manager. The two begin to flirt, but they're interrupted by Blumbert and two of his colleagues, who reveal that a laser spectroscope they were inventing was aimed at Howard's planet and just transported him to Earth when it was activated. They theorize that Howard can be sent back to his world through the reversal of the same process. So it's kind of an understatement to say they began to flirt.
Duck dick really fucking bad.
She wanted that corkscrew.
Beverly comes out in her underwear, in like silk underwear and tries to seduce Howard, who is initially resistant but sort of gives in, and they become interrupted. And when the camera cuts back to them, you see Beverly kind of moving upwards from her head being at a lower position on Howard's body. And yeah, it's this movie, the way we talked about, I know we spent, and I still think it is the official position of the Culturally Illiterate podcast, I'm saying it right now, the comic book movies, superhero movies should be hornier.
All movies.
This one could have stood to be less horny, or at least handle it better.
I think it could have been a little less awkward. I think it should have gone full on horny though, and they should have fucked. If you're gonna have that kind of flirtation in there, fully commit to the duck human sex.
If they did that, I'll actually leave. It was that watching that scene was torture. I can't. Oh my fucking god.
I vehemently disagree with all of you. I think this was like one of the highlights of the film. And I'm not even joking. I'm not trying to be funny. I thought it was incredible. And you guys had such visceral reactions.
The fact that you're not trying to be funny is the worst part, Jason.
You guys had such visceral reactions. I didn't think it was nearly as weird or out there as you guys acted like it was. Specifically Matt, but I understand having a visceral reaction. Yeah. This is the man that said, when there were titties for 30 seconds in The Godfather, so...
We also have to talk about the fact that they open up Howard's wallet and she pulls out a condom, an unwrapped condom, which is kind of weird. And that's a bit of a funny bit, to which Matt said, "What is that?"
Quick side note from that story, though, if you're walking around with an unwrapped condom in your wallet, play in traffic. Like, that's disgusting.
Do you think that thing was crusty? Like, just not like actually like he'd used it or something, but like it's just crusty because he's just leaving it. It's just leaving it out in there. Those things need lube.
Honestly, I think it comes down to them determining that the unwrapped condom prop was clearer in what it was than if they had made a condom
But back to
wrapper.
the duck sex.
I want to know why you think it was like fine.
I think it was... Okay, well, first of all, you guys compared it to bestiality. First of all, this isn't my main point, but I do think it is vastly different from bestiality.
Well, the key is that Howard can I still think it's weird given the body differences there.
He's a sentient, and he's capable of consent, as you said. And also, on top of that, he's not exactly like a duck. Like, obviously, he has the physical attributes of a duck, but if you saw Howard the Duck in a park, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, there's a duck." You'd be like, "That's a man duck." So it's not the same as like, "Oh, I want to fuck this duck." You know what I mean? It's not the same. It's leagues apart. And I am standing here and I am on the Senate floor defending Beverly.
Here's the thing. I agree that it's not the same, but I don't think that doesn't make it very weird at minimum.
He's also still an entirely
that
different
creature and be
species.
like, I kind of want it in
I'm not here to kink shame, though. I'm not into it.
I am. Did you not hear my intro?
Well, you're not me. Okay? Did I say Jake's not here to kink shame? No, I said me.
Me.
Yeah, I'm the main character.
All right, here's our daily reminder that Jake's the main character.
Jake has the second
Damn
worst
straight.
main character syndrome of anyone.
Second
I know.
worst.
Second worst?
No, because I better
Yes.
be below Priya, better be below my own girlfriend, and I should also be below our sister. Hers is the most unhinged I've ever seen or heard. Okay, listen, real quick, I'm gonna half defend her because while I do think it's somewhat, I am not on the boat of it not being weird, and I do think some of the overtness of it could have been toned down, especially in conjunction with, I do think it's a weird tonal shift between the rest of the movie, which is really childlike. That said, I genuinely, maybe this is a hot take, really love Leah Thompson as Beverly Switzler. I think she's actually like a really strong, solid performance. I think her and the shared performance of all the people mentioned earlier as Howard are the strong parts of the movie. And while the nature of the relationship is rushed, their scenes together do have a natural back and forth through them. And I do think they have I would say friend-like chemistry, but I guess romantic chemistry is what it is in reality.
I definitely agree that they're like, even though like the relationship to it is like to get to that point is rushed, they actually do a pretty good job of like showing that like they have like a friendship going on and that like they make Howard feel like he's actually there as opposed to like I'm dealing with a suit and just like
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the nice things about practical effects, because if you had him as a CGI character nowadays, it probably feels a lot more lifeless. But I think ultimately, while I don't necessarily enjoy watching a grown woman try to seduce a duck man, I do think that's one of the better scenes in the movie because of their back and forth and their charisma. It's snappy, it flows as good as anything else does. There's some of the best simple, just the way the camera follows Beverly, like camera movement, but without keeping it's not male gazy at all. But you like almost tracks Howard's eyes thing, like, and it is one of the better moments, and that the two of them in general are the strong suit.
See, this is where you got me fucked up, because you say you don't want to see a adult woman, human woman seduce a duck. I don't want to see that either, but it's funny to watch.
I don't understand
it
the
is
humor
funny.
in that situation.
That is objectively funny.
Because there was no humor in that moment. It was just pure horniness.
Yes, there was.
There was humor in that moment, Matt.
I think there was humor in it, but I don't know how much of it was intentional. And ultimately, I think Jason's right that there could be humor there, but I just don't think it was done well in a humor sense. In general, to me, the biggest flaw of this movie is it's a comedy that's not funny.
It's not funny.
I do not find this movie funny.
You guys are insane.
There's a couple good moments when Howard walks under the crossbar and they all stuck behind it. Or like there's a couple decent duck puns or like kind of what the fuck moments. But for the most part, it's just not funny.
I think there are like parts of it that I find funny. Like you said, I don't think the whole of it is funny. I think like this is why I feel weird about the sexual parts, because I can't tell if they were just trying to be funny or not with those.
It was so clearly funny.
I don't get the joke, because like even though I'm the same person who's like ha 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 sex funny and says something that's like grossly sexual, I just seeing that humor, and I am one to be able to criticize it at the very least for my overuse of it. I think it's just weirdly not funny.
And just to be clear, Howard the Duck has a family back in his home planet, right?
He has parents.
Parents?
He doesn't have like he has a postcard from some kind of love interest or whatever who's talking about like how she misses him and she wants to like fly back and kiss his bill or whatever, but it's not really clear like the nature of how serious that relationship is. He doesn't have like a wife.
Yeah, they seemingly show that a lot of his photos have him with multiple different duck women.
Yeah, his one wallet photo, he's with 2 different women in it. So it doesn't seem like he is tied down. He certainly doesn't have a family. Well, like kids. He has parents. He has loved ones.
This is where I'm fighting for my life on this podcast. Okay,
go for it. I like this. This is entertaining.
I'm so upset because it is so clearly comedic. Because listen, she comes in. First of all, Howard's been horny all movie. He gets teleported to Earth while jacking it. Then he's at the unemployment office to get a job, and the woman bends over, and he's like, that. And then she comes
about
in.
that scene.
Oh, which time she then gets him a job at the brothel based off the fact that he's trying to bite her ass. She's like, "Oh, I have a place for you."
Exactly. The basis of this character is horny, and then she comes in her underwear and he's talking big game, and then she goes into it and he's like, "Oh, I was just joking," and that's hilarious. The basic absurdity of this woman trying to seduce an anthropomorphic duck who's been trying to fuck all movie, and then him in that moment being like, "I gotta get out of here," is beautiful.
I agree somewhat, but I think it needed to commit to that. If this movie wanted to listen, can you not agree that most of the movie is large stretches of the movie are not dealing with that? If this movie wanted to be a raunchy, vulgar sex comedy, I think it could absolutely work in that format, and I'd be very interested in seeing that done. I wonder if the canceled Kevin Smith Howard the Duck show on Hulu would have been like that. I think that absolutely is a way you can take this character, but I don't think they take him that way for enough of the movie.
This is where I'll agree with you. And that's my biggest complaint with the movie, is that it doesn't commit to being like balls to the walls absurd enough. But specifically this scene, I think, was genius in terms of comedy.
I want to add that I didn't catch the entire point of that whole like thing being a build up to that scene, which I find a lot better knowing that, because like I didn't make that connection and now it makes a lot more sense. But
he's Jason Tate.
We're
the same.
Yeah, I really wish in the same vein that like it would have gone further then, because like I didn't catch that on my first watch of it, that it was like building up to that.
Dog, they walk into her kissing his bill. You see it on the curtain, and there's a woman kissing a duck bill, and that's funny.
She's about to go down. They're gonna.
Yes, but when they walk in and they show the curtain.
No, it's a very funny silhouette. So I mean, ultimately, like, Jason's winning me over a little bit here.
I'm so fucking.
Jason's honestly kind of won me over a little bit too.
Listen, I still think the movie is very bad. I still think Jason is much more favorable on it than I am. I see what he is saying, but again, my opinion is it suffers from the issue of it doesn't know if it wants to be a kids movie or a sex comedy, and that's not two things you can blend together very well.
Here's the thing, that almost makes it funnier to me in certain parts.
But it's for a fun film.
But I do wish that they had fully committed to one or the other.
And you can do a sex comedy and still have like a heart of it. Not that this movie has a lot of heart, but you could have done that and it still had heart of him like trying to get home, but then falling in love with Beverly.
This movie had so much heart.
It's one of those weird things that it's like I can't remember just because of I'm not looking it up, but like I don't know what the ratings were like back then in terms of like, you know, age ratings and stuff like that, if they had the motion pictures blah 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 MPAA stuff going on, and I assume it was at that time because I remember when we were watching Swamp Thing that that was PG, right?
Yeah, PG. I believe this is PG as well because PG-13 didn't exist.
So that like it just I see the movie and I see like, okay, I get the childlike stuff and that stuff makes sense. But like one of the weird things that I noticed about the movie is that they curse maybe once or twice, but like are perfectly fine showing full frontal duck nudity
and tasteful human side boob.
And lots of side boob and lots of sexual
some ass.
So like it just makes me like, I know that's probably just a thing of the times where it's like, okay, some things are a bit more prude than others. That people are a bit more prude about than other things, but like it's still just such a weird thing to see it like, if this is an adult film essentially, or if this is marketed towards an adult audience, cursing would be fine and they'd be like, I feel like they wouldn't be like against doing that, and it seemed like they kind of were holding back a fair amount of the time. But then you also have situations where you have these just adult themes in this movie, and it's so strange.
I much prefer the way, again, to bring up Batman 1966 again, the way they handled those types of things than as ultimately a kids movie / family movie than the way this did. Also, that movie's just funnier. So upon their arrival at the laboratory, the laser spectroscope malfunctions upon activation, raising the possibility of something else being transported to Earth. At this point, Dr. Walter Jennings is possessed by a life form from a distant region of space. When they visit a diner, the creature, which, side note, the diner it's like Joe Roma's Cajun sushi. So I want to know what the food is like there.
It was a bunch of hillbillies with some Japanese head.
Yeah, that felt a little bit fucked up.
Oh, it was definitely in poor taste.
Yeah, but you know, I also am just curious about the food. Diner food? Is it Cajun food? Is it sushi?
We only saw diner.
Be hibachi going on.
We only saw like a hibachi. We saw a hibachi chef. We didn't see what he was making. And then when they brought the food out, it was only like diner food.
Yeah, Howard got like diner breakfast and then is freaked out by the eggs. So when they visit the diner, the creature introduces itself as Dark Overlord of the Universe and demonstrates its developing mental powers by destroying the table, utensils, and condiments.
Dark Lord of the Universe.
And the guy looks like fucking Nigel Thornberry. It's just like, smashing.
There's certain moments of this movie that almost feel like a spoof. Like it almost feels like Spaceballs. Like the fact that he like just like they're making jokes about him like, you know, having food poisoning, and then he's like, I'm the Dark Overlord of the Universe.
And every time he said that, Matt laughed.
Like it's just, like it almost feels like it's making fun of itself.
So a fight ensues when a group of truckers in the diner begins to insult Howard. Howard's captured and almost killed by the diner chef, but the Dark Overlord destroys the diner and escapes with Beverly. It's kind of fucked up. They try to like cook Howard alive, which is as he's like talking, so they're like well aware that this is a like, you know,
sentient creature,
fully like alive, conscious being. Howard locates Phil, who's arrested for his presence at the laboratory with no security clearance. After they escape, they discover an ultralight aircraft, which they use to search for the Dark Lord and Beverly. At the laboratory, the Dark Overlord plans, it's so silly to say that, plans to transfer another of his kind into Beverly's body with the Dimension Machine.
You have to say the full name, by the way.
I'm just reading it off of
it's the Dark Overlord
man.
of the Universe.
Sorry, yes, the Dark Overlord of the Universe. At the laboratory, the Dark Overlord of the Universe plans to transfer another of his kind into Beverly's body with the Dimension Machine. Howard and Phil arrive and seemingly destroy the Dark Overlord of the Universe with an experimental neutron disintegrator, but the creature is merely forced out of Jennings' body and now attacks them in his true form. Howard fires the neutron disintegrator at the hideous beast, also otherwise known as the Dark Overlord of the Universe. universe, obliterating him. He then destroys the laser spectroscope, preventing more dark overlords of the universe from arriving on Earth, but also ruining his only chance of returning to Duck World. Howard then becomes Beverly's manager. Also, he's her boyfriend. She says it in the diner scene. I don't know why that was excluded from the synopsis, but they're very much in a relationship, a monogamous, loving, sexually active relationship. Howard then becomes Beverly's manager, hires Phil as an employee on her tour, and performs with her on stage, where you hear the classic Howard the Duck theme song. Howard the Duck, saving human race. That's gonna be painful for our listeners.
I have questions. Are the dark overlords of the universe like their own species, or are there only like 4 of them?
Well, that's a great question, Sean. They don't explain that.
I want answers because they all look the same. They look like they're part of the same species. Do you think the dark overlords of the universe have like a fucking orgy together?
They definitely are the same species. I don't know how many there are. We see 3 others coming through the portal, but I gotta imagine there's more, and those are probably just the first to answer the call, would be my speculation.
They definitely fuck each other, to answer that question. No, but like it's definitely like a group, like
it's a group activity. They have.
Do you think they have sex with their arm tentacles?
Well, side note, speaking of arm tentacles, that's a hell of a sentence.
Excuse me?
I quite enjoyed the Dark Overlord of the Universe design, and in general that it was this stop motion monster. I think any of the practical effects, like the Howard suit or the Dark Overlord of the Universe, are pretty solid, pretty strong. The special effects, like lasers and shit that are coming out of Jennings before he's transformed or whatever, those aren't good. Those are bad. But anything practical looks really good.
The only thing I had an issue with when they showed the Dark Overlord of the Universe is you could definitely tell like when they superimposed it in darker areas. It was only in darker areas though where it really mattered, because like when it was in darker areas you could kind of see the white outline of like the where the models were. So like
creature design was good.
Well, yeah, that looked kind of like neat. And was like, oh wow, that's interesting. And I like that they essentially do the it's a big stop motion animation thing, and it felt really neat. It felt so weird though. It doesn't feel like it fits in with the rest of the movie, which I think is a good thing, because it seems kind of funny that it's just like, oh look, big random creature at the end of the movie, here you get it. It just did not look like it fit in with everything else though. Like not in like a it didn't look like it fit in there. Like it just, the design was weird for everything else.
Yeah, it's a lot more like
grotesque.
Yeah, it is. Like it's almost like the mouth and like the handholds that the tentacles come out almost look, they're not bloody, but they look like raw almost, and there's like a lot of teeth. It's kind of freaky. It's kind of gross. Yes, you agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Great thoughts, Jason.
Well, listen. The whole time that those monsters were on screen, I was just making jokes about Stranger Things. So, I mean...
Yeah, you just could be like, is this Vecna I keep hearing about?
Well, I've never seen Stranger Things. Never seen a single episode of Stranger Things. I don't know shit about shit. So... And it was really only funny to me.
Well, do we all agree also that the Howard the Duck theme song fucking bangs?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it rips.
It's gonna be stuck in my head for a while.
It does.
It's
That's the
like,
sad part.
That's sad. What do you mean it's sad?
I hope if we ever get another iteration of Howard the Duck in like a movie or show, they incorporate that song, honestly.
It's up there with, I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody, Stairway to Heaven. It's right up there with them.
It makes it so much better that Howard wrote that song in universe.
Can you guys believe that Howard the Duck was this is the first feature-length, like theatrically released Marvel Comics movie? Howard the Duck.
Really?
Produced
Wasn't
by
there like
George
a Captain America
Lucas.
movie before
It
that?
was a 1940s serial.
Oh.
They aired like this. They aired like several. Back then they would air like these like 15-minute type of like serialized shorts that strung together. So you had that back in the 40s. A lot of during that era of film, there was a lot of like super old school superhero serials, Batman, Superman, things like that. And you can actually find them online, but this was the first like actually like put together feature length theatrically released one. And then there's not another one till I believe Blade in 1998, if I'm getting my dates right. There was plenty of other things like the infamous 1990 Captain America movie or the Nick Fury movie with David Hasselhoff, but those were all, while initially planned for theatrical release, they ended up going straight to video or straight to TV. So it was this and then Blade.
Wait, pause. David Hasselhoff?
Nick Fury, yeah. I've seen it. It's not good.
I've seen it.
I watched it. I was like a little kid and it was on TV and I was like, Dad, why didn't you tell me there's a Nick Fury movie? And he was like, I didn't even know it existed because, And then I watched it and was like, oh.
I remember the Captain America movie.
Because when I realized movies could be bad. I haven't seen the 90s Italian Captain America or the Italian Red Skull.
Oh, it was made by an Italian filmmaker?
It's I don't know. It's like fucking Filipino or something.
Oh,
It's a
really?
spaghetti
Um,
western.
It's a spaghetti western.
But that guy who plays the Red Skull, you know, famous Nazi German villain, is an Italian and is like very Italian and has an Italian accent. Captain America is played by J.D. Salinger's son, Matt Salinger. What? The cow was made of rubber and has fake rubber ears because they couldn't instead of getting his ears through an ear hole.
I'm learning so much.
It was marketed. It's Yugoslavian. It's an American Yugoslavian film, and it was marketed in the Philippines, which is where I got that as Blood Match. Yeah, you can find it online.
This is great.
There's also the unreleased Fantastic Four movie that was made for rights purposes. So,
Man, I wish we could see that Captain America movie.
I mean, you can watch it on your own time. I'm just not including. You can find it online. I'm just not including it in this because I just wanted to limit it to theatrically release. Because if we started doing shit like that, it was just
Too many.
there's enough bad as it is.
Gotcha.
There's enough of these as it is, and enough bad ones as it is that I don't need to include all these like failed films that were so bad that they didn't get their planned
I
theatrical
need to
releases.
see the Hasselhoff, though.
Look it up.
If we put it in a theater, does that count as it being theatrically released?
No, absolutely not.
Fuck.
I will not be doing that.
If we get enough viewers, we'll
for the
make it a
Patreon.
we'll make it a page. Oh, I was about to say, if we get enough viewers,
Oh
we can
my
make
God.
it a Patreon
we
bonus.
can always, when we catch up on to like current day, we can always circle back.
We could do that, or we make a Patreon and we have exclusive episodes.
You know what? We'll cross that bridge when we get a viewer, a listener. How about
Speaking of
that?
the Patreon, that reminds me that, you know, I love the refreshing taste of Michelob Ultra.
You gotta stop with these fake non-sponsors.
I never said that they sponsored us.
You're implying it.
You're implying
I
it.
am simply telling you my
You don't drink beer.
correct.
All right, so
I'm trying to gaslight brands, okay?
look, I'm all for gaslighting companies, but come on.
Gaslight Spindrift.
So, all right, favorite things, least favorite things, would you recommend? Myself, I kind of already said all of this, but to recap, favorite things have got to be Howard and Beverly. The Howard suit looks great. I think Leah Thompson as Beverly is great. The shared performance as Howard is good. The two of them work well together, even if the relationship's not developed well in the progression of the movie. Least favorite things have got to be the inconsistency between being a movie for small children and a movie for perverted adults, and just the general lack of being funny for something that is clearly aiming to be funny. I laughed only a few times, and many of those laughs I don't think were necessarily intentional. Some were, but as a whole, I think it misses on its comedy a lot more than it hits. And while Jason's positivity has definitely swayed me to hating this less than I originally did, as the only person who had seen this before today, I still do not like it and absolutely would not recommend.
This is great. This podcast went by so fast. We're already at the recommendation part?
Yeah.
I still got some time left in
we
me.
also spent like 15 to 20 minutes of this like not even talking about the movie.
I thought it was 30 minutes.
Listen, I got 60 points on the board and the fourth quarter hasn't even started, bro. I'm still ready to go.
Take the floor, say something.
Well, listen, what's my favorite part?
What's my favorite part?
You can answer that, buddy.
My favorite part was, I think, like, as much as I thought there were times where I wish it had committed to being, like, funny and, like, a full-on comedy and all that, I do think that Howard was a very funny character, and, like, he was, even though some of the jokes that involved him may not have come across as very funny, he as a character had good, like, sarcastic delivery and all that. Like the scene in the diner where I forget what the context is, but he gets like, there's like a mild inconvenience and he's like, I'm gonna kill someone. And that shit was so fucking funny to me. So I think Howard was a big highlight, just his, you know, his swagger and his delivery. Least favorite part, I think, probably just like the lack of committing to being either like just a fun action movie or like a straightforward comedy. Like it doesn't really pick a lane well, kind of hovers between. I think that's the worst part. I would recommend it, but only in a certain, if you're by yourself, don't watch this fucking movie. If you're with some buddies, maybe you're drinking, maybe you're, you know, listen, I don't condone any drug use, but maybe if you got some drinks in you, maybe you know, passing something around,
Methamphetamines.
I don't know what, then maybe throw this on. It'll be a good time.
No, it does not get a recommendation from me.
That's recommendations are always my favorite because they're so blunt. If he hates it, he's just like no, and he just nobody complains better than Matt.
I thought
But then also when he likes it, he's so passionate. Sorry, continue. I just wanted to praise you.
I thought it was going to end there after you said no.
I was actually going to end it, but if you want me to expand upon it further,
listen.
sure.
Please do. Please expand. Please get into detail.
Please
Favorites, least
expand.
favorites, whatever. I want to hear your thoughts. You don't talk as
I want to
much.
see you expand.
I will expand for you, Sean.
Oh, please do.
All right, so the movie first is all over the place plot wise. It starts out as like some kind of over the top, like fish out of water, duck in the human world type of film, right? And all of a sudden there's like a fucking super villain who's bring his other dark lords from his planet into this world.
Excuse me? You wanna put some respect on that name? Dark Overlord of the Universe.
Sean, I don't give a shit about this movie enough to remember that name.
Dark Overlord of the Universe.
Don't make me come over there and kiss you, okay? Shut the fuck up, Sean. Anyway, I totally disagree with Jason. I do not think any of the humor landed. I think it's fucking shit with all of his shitty duck puns and stupid sex.
He said,
jokes.
"I'm gonna kill some."
That's
for no reason.
See, that's not a duck pun though. That's funny.
But you said none of the humor.
Not a duck pun. That's
Okay,
funny.
no, this is where we have beef. You said none of the humor landed. Now you're acknowledging that.
All right, fine. Some of it landed. The part where he like goes under the what was it, the orange bar or something like that.
Suck
I
me.
will fucking suck you. Don't say it again. Anyway,
Save that for the Patreon.
fine. All right.
No, save that for OnlyFans, man.
Yeah, go to our OnlyFans at www.onlyfans.com/
Come truly illiterate.
come.
Came on, got that off the dome. Is that any good?
That was good. That was better than what I was gonna come up with.
Oh, I got it better. Come truly illiterate.
Oh, how long did it take you to come up with that?
None of it. I just did it now. You just watched me come. None of us have a clit, but it's still funny.
Yeah, exactly. Listen. Clits are funny. What are you gonna do?
Okay. We need to run it back, Matt. Finishing thoughts.
Call it that when you invite Priya over.
Can you not?
Oh, god damn it.
What's funny is I don't know if she'll still be listening to this point, but I know for a fact Priya's mother, if for some reason she is listening, I guess hello Monica,
Yo, man.
did listen to our intro episode and does say that she plans to listen to more of them.
no.
So there is a chance that she's heard all of this.
I'm not
In
sorry.
which case I'm so
I stand by
shocked.
it. Matt, even though I'm beefing with Matt's my guy, and I stand by it.
No.
Honestly, this right here, this last like 3 minutes, may be our peak.
Peak has been this whole episode. This is my 81 point game. I'm Kobe.
Okay, Kobe. Well, does Matt have anything else to say before we pass it off to Sean?
All right, so I did not like most of this film. I did not like most of the jokes, especially the tug puns. I did not like the sexual tension between our two leads. I did not enjoy their scene together. Jason's talking about how, they built up this moment. They didn't fucking build up to that moment. What the fuck are you saying? It's disgusting. So gross.
No, this is where I beef with Matt because he's so closed-minded.
Oh my god.
You're so quick to hate.
You're so quick to hate.
Like Matt has such
is
a
love.
vitriol towards like the Minions, and listen, like they're not good movies. They're annoying. I get it, but like he gets so angry about them, and I'm like,
I don't hate the Minions. I hate what they
just
represent.
don't see the fucking movie.
I don't see the fucking movie.
I think the
refuse
problem
to
with the
support them.
Minions is that people are watching that movie and
Exactly.
they shouldn't
I hate it.
And I was one of those people.
All right, 1 second. Let's hear Sean's opinion first before we go further. This could go on forever.
I want to curtail the Minions talk here and just get Sean's wrap-up thoughts, please.
be. No. We're talking about Minions now.
It's one thing to talk about a theoretical OnlyFans, but unless the Minions are going to factor into that, let's cut them out of the conversation.
Oh, well, they're factoring into that.
All right, Sean, please tell me what you thought of the movie.
Good parts. That's a good question. I
Too many to
know.
name, right?
You know what? I like a lot of the I like a lot of the ideas behind this movie. I think if they went full committal with a lot of the stuff that they had, either like Jason said, pick a lane, I think it would have really been fantastic.
It has so much untapped potential.
And I think that's what I'll give this movie like some positive for it. It has a lot of untapped potential. It has a lot of areas that I could see that are like really good. The acting, both the leads in general, are really well done. For the most part, I should say. There's some things that are weird. Some really weird stuff. Jason would know.
Oh, he enjoys it.
Oh, I know he enjoys it. He's a feathery.
I'm terrified of it.
That's not a joke, by the way. That's an actual real fear that Jason has.
I'm actually a huge fan of not even trying to be gross. I'm actually a huge fan of ducks. That's one of my favorite animals. I love mallards. I love the ones with the big, technically the breasts or whatever, but they look like big bellies, and I call them big belly boys, and they're all white and smooth. Ducks are great. Ducks are also the best in all media. I love Howard the Duck. I love Daffy. I love Donald.
Ducks are adorable. Not gonna lie.
Ducksland.
They're
Okay,
very cute.
first of all,
I love it when they have the
They're
videos.
adorable.
Those white ducks who look so poofy, just go on your hand. They just like jiggle a little bit, and it looks like they made out of Jello.
They just jiggle a little bit. Anyways, what I didn't like about this movie is that, like, yeah, I kind of agree. There's a lot of it that just doesn't. The jokes don't land. Unlike ducks, they do land. So I just it feels like there's just a lot of, I think, like, yeah, the biggest thing is missed potential. There's a lot of missed potential. They should have really just picked a lane. They should have really just chosen what they wanted the movie to be tonally. And yeah, I think I do recommend it, though. I think after everything that I've seen, I think I would say that I recommend it. I recommend watching it with a group of people that can genuinely like see this movie for what it is and just make fun of it, because otherwise I don't think it'd be fun to like watch alone. But I think it's worth at least one watch just to see it and kind of like it has such, despite the fact that some people feel like this movie is viscerally atrocious, it still has like a cultural impact in some way, shape, or form, and that's why I kind of more or less recommend it, because it does have its own cult following and everything like that. So, and on top of that, like, watching it this time was like a little bit of an experience just to say that, like, okay, I've seen it now, and now I know what the fuck this weird shit is. And knowing that this is Marvel's first movie is very uncomfortable.
It's a sleeper hit. I'm telling you.
I'm just stunned. I'm just floored that we got two conditional recs, but 2 yes recommends out of this movie. I also want to throw in there real quick. Howard the Duck, genuinely one of my top 10 favorite Marvel characters. I actually really love Howard the Duck. And my real introduction to him, in a more like, I don't want to say serious sense. He's a like pretty comedic character. But like in a, not just like in a meme. I don't mean like as a character. Was in Chip Zdarsky and Joe Quinones. If I said that wrong because I'm white, sorry, I probably did. Fantastic Howard the Duck run. The first volume 0, called What the Duck. If you have interest in Howard as a character, whether because you've just heard about him or you've maybe read some of his older stuff, I highly recommend those. So I just wanted to throw that out there on the topic of Howard, because he's truly actually a really interesting, lovable guy, and that this book is really, really funny and heartfelt. So if no one else has anything to say, we'll do our usual. What's up?
We have to talk about the minions.
So on that note of cutting that off before it gets too far in, thank you to I'm going to say you're wrong, Alo. Sorry, buddy, but you shouldn't have changed it to something I'm too stupid to say. Voldemort? It looks like Voldemort, but with missing letters. VODMORTE for our channel art. You can follow me on Letterboxd at JakeWalter98, capital J, capital W, no spaces, no underscores, no dashes. Jason, you want to plug your shit?
Yeah, one sec.
You're stupid.
No, sorry, I had to pull up my Twitter to remember my Twitter. Yeah,
That's a problem, man.
I make music. I'm working on an EP. It's gonna be called Cult Classic. I don't know when the fuck it's gonna be out.
Never.
I'll figure it out. It's gonna be 4 songs.
Is it?
I have like 1.5 done, including Pins and Needles, which is the intro outro music. The other one's gonna be called Bleach in a Paper Cut, so that's coming. You can follow me on Instagram at theupsidespa, on Twitter at _upsidespa, and my SoundCloud is The Upsides.
If you're interested in continuing to check us out, you can follow us at illiterate_pod. That's the @ for both Twitter and Instagram. You can reach us at cultureilliteratepod@gmail.com for any comments, questions. please feel free to leave a review. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Culture Illiterate Podcast is the channel name. On Anchor. Episodes are bi-weekly, so you can catch us in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about Christopher Reeve's final outing as the Man of Tomorrow. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Hell yeah.
You excited for that one, buddy?
Oh, yes. I get 2 exciting movies in a row. This and then fucking Quest for Peace.
It's the movie about Superman's DNA gaining on like some kind of nuclear meteor and it mutates into a supervillain.
Well, we're saving that for the next podcast.
This is a teaser, okay? I need to
Tease me every day.
Well, we'll go into another iconically bad one. So thank you for listening, and we will talk with you again next time.